Presidential election, meanwhile, has tightened up. Speaking of Mitt Romney's momentum, in key swing states, in Florida and Virginia, Mitt Romney and Barack Obama are running neck and neck, according to a new Wall Street Journal Marist NBC News poll. The race in Ohio is tightening as well, though there Obama is still well ahead. Neil King joins us now to discuss these latest poll results. Neil, good morning.
Good morning, Rolf.
So let's start with Florida and Virginia, where they're running neck and neck, and how has that changed over the past couple weeks?
Well, what was interesting, we went out into the field right before the debate last week, and we found, we came out with the polls, and then we've done these polls now. So we have basically a before and after. And there were a couple of things that were really interesting in all three states, despite all this sense of this huge volatility after the debate and all these people shifting votes. In reality, at least in the three states that we polled, and they are the states that really matter the most, there was very little particular movement in any of the states. I mean, basically the margins had remained the same, and about 6% of the people polled said that they had made their mind up since the debate. That doesn't mean that they shifted their vote. So people watched it. The proportions of people watching it were very big. The interest level was very high. But it wasn't clear that it had necessarily moved the huge numbers of votes that some of the national polls have indicated was the case.
Okay, now talk about Ohio. There, Obama has a bit larger lead, correct?
Yeah, Ohio is the biggest, toughest nut for Romney to crack, and this poll coming out is certainly good news for the Obama camp. I mean, it shows that Romney is favorable, unfavorables. He still remains disliked there by about 51% of people who see him unfavorably. He's got a 6-point deficit, which is a tough one. And the thing that was, I think, probably the most disturbing is there's a huge emphasis on ground game, on getting people to vote early. The early voting started a week ago. 1 in 5 voters have already voted, which is an extraordinary number of votes being cast. And among those votes, Obama leads by like 2/3 to 1/3. So that's an indication of either a lot of enthusiasm or a lot of muscle on the ground game in converting, supporters to actual votes in the early voting, and that's a very big thing.
What happens if Ohio breaks Obama, if Florida, Virginia break Romney? I guess my question
is... The thing about the map, if you look at it, if Obama only takes Ohio, loses all the other states that are the swing states, except for, say, Nevada, that gets him over 270 and he wins. So Ohio, as long as he can preserve the other states that have traditionally been blue for a long time, like Wisconsin in particular, Ohio can basically seal the night for President Obama. It's the big state.
Okay, we've talked about swing states. Just briefly at the end, Mitt Romney has actually pulled slightly ahead nationally?
Well, we haven't polled nationally, but if you look at the average, and it is a fascinating moment what's occurred. It's something we've almost never really seen going back for decades, which is a candidate lagging, in early October. In his case, he was lagging by 4 or 5 points. In the Real Clear Politics average, and there are other averages out there, we have our own on WSJ.com, he's now pulled ahead by a point or two. And that's a pretty extraordinary thing. We'll have to see if it lasts. And it could also be the case that this will be a year where the national polls just don't tell us as much that's really important as these state-by-state polls, because these are the places where this battle is actually playing out.
And you could theoretically have a situation where the popular poll and the Electoral College go in different directions. That's technically possible, right?
It is possible. For the most part, they tracked pretty closely. But in this case, we could easily see that there's really outsized disfavor for Obama and a bunch of states that in the end don't really matter that much when it comes to the Electoral College, because we already know where they are. And in the end, if Obama manages to pull off a win in a few of these states that decide the thing, then that could be what we're seeing in these state-by-state polls. And so it's hard. There seems to be a little bit of a disbalance at the moment. And I can tell you that the campaigns themselves only do the state-by-state polling. They're not interested in the national numbers.
Okay. Thanks so much for joining us, Neil.